Ladies and gentlemen, those who have taken time to read my presentations and my preaching and my teaching on my YouTube, I am back with several episodes. From now onwards, I will have several episodes presented on the history of the Bible. Sometimes which I may refer to as I did quickly some time back as a pre-understanding, but this time I am planning to do it more systematic in a way that a reader can follow episode by episode. I want to thank those who have been reading what I have been presenting, and I even want to thank those who have subscribed for my link from what I have already presented. This time, we are going back to understand a history of the Bible. There's nothing on this earth which does not have a history. Even the Holy Book has a history. The actors of the Holy Book have a history. God himself, who reveals, has also a history so far in dealing with mankind. Therefore, please bear with me that sometimes I may repeat what I have already said. After all, in education, we say the more you repeat something, the better people understand it better. When God created the humans, or when God creates any being, He gives it His righteousness. He clothes it with what we call God's righteousness. Please get the wording very carefully. It is called God's righteousness. Not man's righteousness, not righteousness of any other nature, but God's. And as long as the beings which have been created in that way stay within the harmony of God's righteousness, which He has clothed them, there will always be harmony and there will always be happiness. However, if beings choose not to love God, and they said we can't love you for some reasons, which they say they might have discovered, for example, you see, or they have been convinced after some time of living with God. God does not force them to stay with Him, because forcing has never been His way of doing things, by the way. God has been always good, giving us a power of choice, which is very different perhaps from other creatures. We have the power of choice to say yes or no to God, and that is something we will always have, and that is the uniqueness of our creation. Now, once we decide that we don't want Him anymore for some reasons or the other, He releases us and we can go our way, and He takes back His righteousness. We can't go with His righteousness. Please get that very carefully. It is very important. We don't go away with His righteousness, because the righteousness is His. Actually, in other words, when you say God has clothed me with His righteousness, it also can imply that you are totally in His righteousness. You are with Him. But when you separate from Him, you cannot remain with His righteousness. He takes it away from you, you see, and then you are on your own. That does not mean that you will not be righteous. No, you can continue to be righteous, yes, but you are not being righteous in the righteousness of God. Whatever righteousness you generate from that time onwards, it is not the righteousness of God. It has a different adjective. It is either righteousness of the law or righteousness of mankind. None of those righteousnesses can inherit heaven, please. We are not disparaging or discouraging good works. Good works are very good. We need them, by the way. We are happy when they definitely happen. But any righteousness with a different adjective apart from that of God cannot inherit heaven. Please, let us get that very clear, because this is going to be a very important element when we begin to study the history of the Bible. You see, why does God need to come and reveal himself to mankind? That is the question I want to try to answer before it is even asked. No any other righteousness, however good it may look or appear in the eyes of the creatures, can inherit heaven. Heaven can only be inherited, or you can stay in harmony with God, or you can stay in heaven with him, only when you are clothed with the righteousness of God. So please, let that one work as a hermeneutical key of everything we do. Ask yourself, is this righteousness I have, does it carry the adjective of God? It can't be anything else. The moment it is anything else, no matter how good it may be, no matter how palatable it may sound, you are a wonderful man, for example. You build churches. You pray 5 times a day, or even 10 times a day. You fast every time. I want to remind you of the Pharisees. The Pharisees were very holy people. They were very righteous people, by the way, let me say. You see, they generated their righteousness, but they lacked one thing. Their righteousness was not that of God. And I want to be very clear with you as we travel this long journey of the history of the Bible, that Paul will be shocked when he will discover this. Paul will be shocked when he will discover that all along he has been a righteous man, to a point of saying that if the law came around and it examined him, he was blameless. The law will declare him blameless. But he came to learn that his righteousness cannot inherit heaven. What can only inherit heaven is God's righteousness. I cannot emphasize that enough, because this is where the confusion comes from. You see, we do always know that when the people are doing bad things, they are terrible people to live with. Thieves, murderers, name them. We are not very comfortable to live with them. So we are very comfortable to live with the people who are good, people whom you can depend on. They can tell you that they are word, and you can depend on it. And you say, man, this is a holy person. This is a righteous person. Therefore, he is a candidate for heaven. As long as he is doing all that outside the righteousness of God, he cannot inherit heaven. Heaven can only be inherited when the righteousness of God has been given back to us. That's why Paul says, a mystery has happened now in Jesus Christ. That once where there was a wrath of God, now the righteousness of God has been revealed. We can have it back again. Now, the question is this. From the time God withdrew his righteousness from us, to a time he brings it back in Jesus Christ. That is the period we are going to cover. I come again. From the time God withdrew his righteousness from us, to a time God is bringing it back in Jesus Christ. It covers a span of time. And it is that history we are going to cover as I have made this introduction to you in this first introductory episode or series, that immediately we are going to cover that part.